Hi, all. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of the Struggling Indie Author Podcast. Today is Friday, March 19th. It's the 19th today. And I'm going to play you an interview I did a few weeks ago with an author named Bobby Nash. Bobby Nash is an award-winning author. He writes novels, comic books, short stories, screenplays, and more. He is a member of the International Association of Media Tie-In Writers and International Thriller Writers. On occasion, he appears in movies and TV shows, usually standing behind your favorite actor. We talked about that, trust me. Occasionally, he puts pen to paper and doodles. And something new I'm doing is I recorded this interview on Zoom, so if you'd like to watch, you could watch it on YouTube, and I will have the link to that as well as contact information for Bobby Nash in the show notes. I hope you guys enjoy the interview. I had a ton of fun talking to him. We talked about everything from promoting your books to Star Trek. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This is my first interview for the podcast.
Awesome.
Cool. You are my first.
I feel honored.
Yes. So I just wanted to thank you so much for reaching out. I think that the topics that you're going to talk about today are something that a lot of indie authors want to know about, and they like to hear it from perspectives of people who are, in the thick of it and doing it.
Right.
So, so why don't we start off? Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, I'm I'm an author. I write. I sold my first story in 1992. There were a lot of lean years in there, but I would do something here, something there. I did a couple of comic books, amateur stuff. We put our own books together. But also in 1992, I sold a comic strip, a one-panel gag strip that I had made that was based on my family, to a monthly magazine that was local that dealt with family and a lot of kid-based activities in school and all that stuff. So I sold it to them, and so once a month they ran this comic strip that I did, and I did that for 12 years. It's probably the longest stretch of a consistent creative thing I'd ever done. So those ran for 12 years, which was pretty awesome. And during that time, during that time I was trying to get other stuff going. It wasn't until 2000 when I sold my first professional comic script. And so I was doing comics for a little while. And then during that time, I had been writing a novel. I wrote one novel that was pretty awful, and I shelved it.
That happens.
But I finished it. So that kind of buoyed me to want to do another one,
Right.
So I had worked on this novel. It was a suspense thriller. And I had been working on it on and off. And in 2004, I sold it to a publisher, and it came out in 2005. Excuse me. And so I've been very busy since 2005 because having that book in hand led to other books and other work. Because this was in the early days where doing it yourself wasn't as well looked upon as it is now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was a definite stigma for self.
Yeah. This was in a time when if you were doing print on demand or you were self-publishing, it's because you weren't good enough.
Right.
That was the prevailing wisdom, was you weren't good enough to.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I sold my first novel to this publisher, which turned out to be a truly horrific experience, just bad across the board. Except I had a book in my hand, and I used that book to talk to other publishers because, if you talk to editors and publishers and you say, "Hi, I'm a writer," and they go, "Oh, well, what do you write?" And you say, "Well, I'm working on my, my first book and this, that," you can see the glaze, go through their eyes. Mm-hmm. But if they say, "What have you written?" and you slap a book in their hand, you've bought yourself a couple of minutes because they're at least going to look at the cover, look at the back cover. They're going to flip it open. maybe read a paragraph. You've bought yourself a minute. And so, as horrible as that first experience was, I had that book, and I used that book as an introduction to talk to other publishers.
It opened the door for you.
Exactly. And so that led to me doing some anthology work for some publishers, um, which led to other things and and
Right.
so, it's that step stool or step approach,
Right.
to this to. And so even as bad as that experience was, on one hand, had I not had that experience, had I not had that book, I might not have gotten the other thing. So it's a a weird little catch 22 there. It's like, there's a part of me that goes, man, I wish I had to go through that experience.
Oh, absolutely.
But, without that book, if I hadn't have, I might not have had a book then, which I may have missed other opportunities that came along as a result. So yeah, so I do a lot. So I write, I still do comics when I ever so often. I don't get to do them as often as I would like. I work for publishers, and I do my own. I started my own indie press a few years back. Oddly enough, I started it when the rights reverted back to me for that novel from the terrible publisher, and
Oh,
I had trouble finding another publisher that would do it justice. I had some publishers interested, but I didn't like some of the things. It was almost like going from this same experience, just doing it elsewhere. And I was like, "Mm." So I started my own publishing in imprint, Ben Books, which is just my initials,
right.
BE. And I started that to re-release Evil Ways, you know,
Okay.
to keep it in the world. And so then I started, even though I still work for publisher, I will on occasion do books for Ben Books, release things that way. And then in the last couple of years, it's got to where, I'm planning more and more stuff to release myself, like the Snow series or the Sheriff Meyer series, which is actually a spinoff of Evil Ways because he appears in that. So, so now I'm kind of 50-50, or actually maybe even 60-40, where I'm doing more of my stuff but still working for publishers too.
Okay.
That was a long-winded answer.
That actually kind of answers my question, like what made you decide to move into indie publishing, being, a traditionally published author. I think from what I'm gathering, part of it was just the attitudes and the landscape had changed, and then you needed a home for your book.
Right, right. And now there's also, I've learned, like with the snow books, as you can see the poster up there,
Mhm.
the snow books, I had sold that to a publisher that was going to do ebooks only. And they wanted ebook novellas, around 30,000 word stories. And that was what they wanted. And I retained the print rights. So they were going to publish the ebooks. And then every three of them, I would publish a print book, which would be about the size of a normal novel, around 90-ish thousand words. And so the publisher it didn't last long and went out of business. And I eventually got my rights back. But at that particular point in time, publishers weren't really interested in novellas.
Right.
Small press seems to have gravitated toward the 40,000 word novella. But I had kind of created this whole series with that format in mind. So instead of rewriting it and reformatting it and kind of killing the vibe I was creating, I decided to do those on my own, which has led to me going, I like this format. I can do a 30,000 word novella. I can sell it cheaper than a 100,000 word novel, which for a guy, for people that don't, I'm not a household name. People don't know me.
Right.
So it's easier to sell somebody a $7 book as opposed to a $15 book. And so I've found quite a bit of success in doing the novellas, and they're not, you know, they're like the old paperbacks of old, they're not, not too bad size wise.
Right.
And so I do those. And so I kind of like the format. So I'm doing it with both of these series. And if I ever get to a point where I'm like caught up and actually ahead of schedule, I'm thinking about doing some like smaller, like one shots to slot between them. So doing it myself has opened up the door to trying something new, which has worked for me.
Well, that's great. That's kind of, I love the freedom indie publishing provides to kind of pave your own way and, do things the way that you want to do them and give you that creative, because I write short as well. I write short. My books are 40,000 words, and I feel like I get a complete story out that way. And, I would find it very hard to just add more, just to add more.
Well, I mean, I kind of do both, because I mean, like Evil Ways was 101,000 words.
Mhm.
Deadly Games, I think, was 110. Earthstrike Agenda was around that same thing, and Suicide Bomb was around the same. So I write full length stuff too, and the Evil Ways sequel, which I'm almost done with now, will come out around 90 to 100. So different books, I guess, these books warrant it. These books don't.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but we having the freedom to try things and do things differently. Like part of with the snow, what I'm doing this year, we're doing something called Snow Shorts, where I've invited other writers to come in and write a story with the title character or with any of the side characters, or if you just want to do a little one shot story about a side character, you can. And
I love
so I've got these authors who are doing these 10,000 word short stories that we're releasing as 99-cent ebooks.
I love it. So it's kind of like fan fiction. You're inviting fan fiction in your realm that you built yourself.
Right.
Make
Right. And
use of that. That's brilliant.
yeah.
Great idea.
And what we're going to do is once we get 3 of them, but then it'll be 10,000 words. It's 30,000 words. We'll release a paperback, and we'll collect it. And so it's also multiple streams too for the authors to earn, because there's the 99-cent book. There's the collected book. There'll be an ebook that collects the 3. There'll be an audio that collects the 3. And then what I do with the series as well, like example, like the snow books come out in the novella form, but every 3 of them I collect in a like full-size novel. So whatever the audience likes to read, whatever format's best for them, I've got that. And we also do hardcovers of the big ones.
Right.
And so there's multiple streams here for the writers to do this. They write the 10,000 words. You get the ebook. It'll be in the novella form. And then every 3 novellas, it'll be in the collected form. So it'll be in multiple places for them.
That is a great idea. That is brilliant. And you had mentioned that you had some talking points in regards to marketing, and I'd love to get into that. However, I just wanted to ask, without getting too much into your horrible experience, what would your advice be in regards to newer authors who are teetering on the line? Like, I'm not sure if I want to go indie or if I want to shoot for traditional publishing. What piece of advice would you offer to them if somebody's teetering on the line, and what should they be looking out for?
There's a couple of things I would do that I wish I had the opportunity to do when I started. The internet was not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have as easy access to authors as I do today. But the first thing I would do is decide what your goal is. What do you want? Not everybody wants to write as their career. That's not everybody's goal. Some people write just because they love it. It's fun. And some people are like, I've got a good day job. I don't want to have to market and struggle and try to sell it. And I just want to write a book and put it out there. If people buy it, great. If they don't, I'll give it to my family and friends. And so if you're starting, decide, and you can change your mind, but decide what you want to do. What are you looking for? And you can plan your how you get there, plan your path to reach that goal. Because if your goal is to write for a career, then you'll want to do things a certain way to kind of get you toward making money.
Right.
If you're just writing for fun, you may do a bunch of anthology work, and anthology work is fun, but anthology work doesn't pay much.
Right.
So you can make decisions that way. You can, do you want to even deal with publishers? If not, then You can plan a do-it-yourself self-publishing model, and no, none of those are wrong. It's just you decide which one works best for you to get you where you need to be. And I'd say once you kind of have that decision in mind, look for other authors who have done something similar. Reach out to them on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and ask them a question. They might answer it. A lot of writers, especially indie writers, are very good at responding and will give you advice and answer your questions. And you could just ask them, hey, I'm thinking about this. And how did I see you're doing kind of the same path I'm thinking of,
Right.
that kind of thing. And you'll find some information that way, which can help you see the pitfalls, because there's good and bad with doing it either way.
Absolutely.
When you're working with publishers, you write the book, you send it off, they edit it, it comes back to you, you fix it, goes back to them, they handle production, they handle the cover, sometimes you handle the back cover copy, sometimes they do. Sometimes they'll ask your opinion on the cover, sometimes they don't. But you're giving up part of the control, but you're giving it up, you're giving it up for people, they know what they're doing. And depending on the size of the publisher, you may have good distribution. If you're going with a small press who's, you may not get into a bookstore because they may be print and demand the paperbacks as well. But if you're at a publisher that's got bookstore distribution, is that something that appeals to you? Those are decisions to make, to see. And then the book comes out, and you may hate the cover, you may love the cover, you have no say on the cover. Yes, that was one of the first things with my horrible experience, was the cover was awful. Yes, the book was called Evil Ways. It is a murder mystery suspense thriller. There's a guy killing people. My cover was a light brown background with brown and pink spots on it. That was the cover. It was awful. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was horrible.
I dabble in cover design. That does not sound.
Yeah, no, it was horrible. First thing I did when I got my rights back and did it myself, new cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, and I did another cover after that. When it had been out 10 years, we did a new cover. We were going to release the hardcover. And I liked that cover so much, I did away with the new second cover, and they all just have the one cover now. But yeah, so you give up a lot of control, but things go that way. With doing it yourself, if you're self-publishing, or you're doing everything, or you're paying for everything to be done, or you found some way to barter for things to be done. I mean, that happens too. You're responsible for the production to make sure it's camera ready is not the right word anymore, but it's ready to go into production to be printed. I will say that doing that stuff has taught me things that I do now in the writing process, like making sure there's no extra spaces, making sure I've taken care of all that while I'm writing. So even if I'm working for publishers, it makes their job easier, which makes them hire me more often, because, we don't have to work as hard on this guy's stuff.
Right.
So, but yeah, so you're responsible, though, when you're doing it yourself, you're responsible for everything. If you're not good at making covers, then you have to make a decision of, do I hire somebody? Do I find finding someone to do that for you? The biggest thing with both of them, especially these days, because traditional publishing has changed a lot too. Marketing is your responsibility, whether you're doing it with a publisher or whether you're doing it on your own.
Okay.
As an author, you are expected, I would say in some cases, you are required to do marketing.
Wow. Okay.
That is, even with publishers, like I've taught in talking with publishers, sometimes when you're pitching them a book and you're in the negotiation stage, a lot of publishers these days will now ask you, what's your marketing plan? Because they want to know that you're going to market the book. Now, they'll do a little. If you're at a publisher, they may do a pre-release or a cover reveal. They'll do, hey, the book's available for pre-order now. And then they'll do, hey, this book came out today. And then they're on to their next book. So if you want any good promotion after the day the book comes out, that's on you as the author. You have to do that. you're because the publishers are like everybody. They're like I said, they're handling multiple books. And like I said, when my book's out, they're on to the next one to get it out. And
Right.
so they don't have like the days of them sending you on book tours and them hiring a promotional, that those are gone. That just it's sad. It's, because one of the main reasons for going with a traditional publisher is distribution and marketing.
Right.
And now, you know, that's kind of, yes, you might get in bookstores with a traditional publisher now, but still most people are still buying it from Amazon. So if you can do what they do, if you can do it yourself, there's more opportunity for you to make more money, because you're not sharing your tiny amount of profit with the publisher.
Right.
So that's where learning how to do marketing and promotion comes in handy. And marketing and promotion is not just something you throw money at. There are ways to do it that are not, I just had to spend $1,000 for this. Now you can, there's places out there you can spend a lot of money, but most indie people don't have a lot of money.
No.
And so you have to learn, and I'm very self-taught on this. A lot of this stuff I've learned is trial and error. I learned what worked and what didn't because I tried it and it worked or it didn't. Yeah.
And a lot of it you have to do that on your own. Like, it's great to listen to people like you, and it's great to read up on it, but a lot of it is trial and error on your own with your skill sets, with your genre and all of that. But it is great to listen to other people who have been through it, and you can definitely learn what not to do.
Yes. Well, and you're right. You're right too, because I mean, depending on the topic of your book, can give you give you insights or give you openings to find people that like that. So, like if you're writing a medical mystery or something about the medical profession, promote that to people in the medical profession. They have places where you can come talk, or I did some work with a character who was a pulpy pilot during the 30s and 40s, got in all kind of adventures, but he was a pilot who built planes. And so I promoted that to a lot of airstrips have gift shops.
Oh,
And I promoted to them. It's like, hey, for your pilots, they might like this guy that goes around beating up bad guys and
right.
solving mysteries and helping oh, and he's a pilot, so there's all kinds of cool pilot stuff. And so you can promote to air shows, or whatever. There's websites that cover certain topics. I write mysteries and action and crime thrillers and things like that, and I write a lot of pulp stuff. There's different groups that have fans of those things. So you promote certain books to certain areas. The internet certainly is a good way to promote things. It can't be your only social media cannot be your only means of promotion. Yeah. because social media limits what gets out there. I mean, you may have 5,000 friends, but only 100 of them are going to see what you post.
Correct.
So you can't depend on social media alone. Social media is great.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, and I use it, but it is not it cannot be your only method of promotion. It just can't. Or because you're reaching such a small audience.
Right. I completely agree.
Yeah. So plus you're not just selling your books, like if all I post is buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, people ignore me. I ignore people that do that. People are going to ignore me. So not only are you're promoting the books, you're promoting yourself as your author brand. And by that can be anything. You make people see you as a real person. So I talk about things like movies I've watched or books I've read, or promote other people's books. Hey, my friend's got a new book out this week, you should check it out. That kind of stuff keeps you out there doing stuff, being real. And so sometimes you'll sell more books because people like you.
Right.
Oh, this person's personable, they're very nice, they seem nice, let me try one of their books. So there's a lot of that goes on. I like to talk about working on the books. Hey, I was working today, or I did this, or ooh, I hit this problem, or ooh, I researched something really cool today. And you talk about something you researched for a book, You're not selling the book, but you're still talking about the book.
Right.
So it's
Planting seed.
exactly. And I've discovered too, if I talk about a book while I'm working on it, people will ask me, how's the book going? Because they know they know I'm working on it. So you're right. You've planted that seed in their head about this book, and they already have interest in it before it comes out. So there's all those kind of ways you can do things. You can certainly buy ads. That's also there's nothing wrong with buying ads. Uh, Facebook does it. Amazon does it. BookBub, and all those kind of places. You can buy ads, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just determine which site you get your most bang for your buck. And a lot of that's trial and error. You don't know till you've tried it.
Yeah.
But
is that something
also,
you do?
huh?
Do you work with Amazon ads or Facebook ads? Or
I've done a few in the past.
okay.
I don't do them regularly just because I haven't had huge success with them.
Okay.
I've had a little bit. The thing that works best for me, I've discovered, is the personal stuff, the getting out there and stuff like this. What we're doing now.
Right.
This goes live. This is I can share this. Hey, check out Nicole and I. We're talking about books, and I can post that, and people will watch this, and they may get a little interest in something from what we talk about, or they'll see one of the book covers I have in my corner.
Yeah. I love your backdrop. I've been
This
staring at it the whole time. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, this is the one clean corner of my office. Because I've set it up for the and I got a new bookshelf. I don't know if you can see it there. It's empty right now. I haven't put my books on it yet, but these are the books that I've written.
Oh, wow.
And so I have to get them on the shelf, and I've not done that yet. I'm just moving into this area, so it's still a lot of it's a mess. Like if I was to turn the camera around, you would think a bomb had gone off over there. It's but setting up this corner of the room, while we're talking marketing, hey, there's 3 book covers on the wall,
Right. I love it.
And so so doing stuff like this, I can promote this, and it gets people interested to come check out our video here, or I can when I do a lot of conventions and book signings and things on a normal year. I didn't last year. It was very weird. I did one event last year. Obviously because of
Right.
quarantines and whatnot. So yeah, in a year and 2 months, I have done one event, and that's really weird because I was doing 2 and 3 a month.
Right.
But I that's another one that works well for me, is the in-person things. I can talk to people. I'm not a hard sales guy, so I can't, like, I'm not that huckster guy that can convince you to buy that book.
Yeah.
It's just not me.
No.
But I can talk to people, and I can tell them about the book, and hopefully they'll see the excitement when I talk about the book, and they'll want to try it. So in person always works well for me. And doing stuff that's not actively selling tends to get people interested. And then we do things like sales, and you know I have a store where I sell autographed books, and I've started this thing where if you buy books from me through my store or from me directly, I'll draw something on your envelope. And
Oh, that's cute. That's a great
yeah,
idea.
and which also then rolls back around to marketing and promotion, because you can say, hey, I had to put a book in the mail. Somebody bought a book from my store, and I put a book in it. Here's what I drew on it. Want to get your own envelope art? Go here.
Right.
So everything kind of becomes it kind of becomes second nature once you learn it. You're doing it without thinking, oh, I got to go promote something. No, you just kind of do it. But those are some of the things that I've learned that they're free. They don't cost me anything but time. Getting out there talking to people, and it can't all just be about my stuff. I'll promote friends' stuff, or I'll get on conversations about books in general, or I love those. Get a bunch of readers together talking about favorite mysteries, and I'll go in there. I try not to go in there and say, well, I write mysteries. I
It's
try to,
so
like,
hard.
Right. You go in there and say, I love these mysteries,
Right.
and, that kind of thing. So it's just promotion is unique to everybody, but promotion, I think a lot of people think marketing and promotion is selling. And while that's part of it, that's not the only thing. And you don't have to actively be trying to sell stuff. You're just basically you're talking about your book. You're talking about your project, your product. And who's more passionate about your book than you?
Right.
And so if you can get out there and just talk about your stuff without, and again, you're not, I know some people, because I talk to a lot of people that tell me, oh, I just can't do marketing. I just can't do it. I just don't know how to do it, or I feel weird doing it, or I feel uncomfortable doing it. And I understand that.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm very self-taught. I had to teach myself to do this. Me that in 2005 when Evil Ways came out could not have talked as much as I'm talking now. It is a teachable, learnable skill. And the important thing, this was an epiphany I had. I don't remember when I had it, because I was always like, well, I don't know how to broach the subject. I don't know how to but if you're doing stuff like this interview, or you're at a convention, or, you have the icebreaker in front of you,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
the stage is set.
Yeah. People walk up on my table at a convention. The books are there. They walked up because the books are there.
Right.
That's the icebreaker. We're talking, on this about books. The icebreaker is there. You've got your opening to say, hi, would you like to look at one of my books? And, I have a very simple sales pitch. I say hello to people. Please come in, take a look. I wrote something in all these books here, and I've been doing this a while, so I have quite the catalog. And so I'll say, I wrote something in all of these here. Feel free to take a look. If you have any questions, I'll be right here. Let the books sell themselves, because they'll sell themselves better than I will.
Right.
And so I found that works for me. And then as people pick book, I'm curious about this one. Then you can tell them about the particular book that caught their interest, as opposed to trying to go through and give a quick pitch for every book you've got on your table. And because, like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I have quite a number of books on the table. And, and now that like Snow is a series, so there's multiple books of that, and there's a lot of books. So you don't want to try to give them if I gave a 2-minute thing on each of them, they're there 30 minutes before I've finished.
And you'd lose them.
Yeah, you lose. Yeah. And so I let the books kind of speak for themselves, and that has worked for me so far. But I'm always trying new things. I've learned, you never know what's going to work, what's not. I was surprised. I won an award last year. I won the New Pulp Fiction Award for the Snow books. An award I didn't even know it existed.
Oh,
I didn't know I had been nominated for it.
great.
So I'd never heard of it till I won it, which was awesome. And so they told me, hey, you won. So I wrote I shared it in the normal places, my websites, all my social media, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, I've got to, this needs something. So I wrote a press release, and I emailed it or went to the websites of, I live in Georgia, so all of the newspapers within 50 miles. I sent it to them. 3 of them ran the story.
That's awesome.
I did pick up a few book sales as a result. So you never know. Now I sent it to a lot more than 3 places, but you know the fact that 3 of them ran the story that I know of, because they don't tell you we ran your story. You still have to kind of,
Right.
I know 3 of them ran it, and actually 2 of them just ran it. One of them actually called me up for an interview, and we talked and added to it. So, but that's great. That's an opportunity to reach an audience that I might not have reached before, because there's a lot of people that read the newspaper. Like my father reads the newspaper. My father is not on the internet. My father is not searching Facebook, and so the only way my dad's excited because, oh my God, my son's in the newspaper. So you do you have to think of all the different places people who might like to read are, and that's not always Facebook.
No, no, it's
Yeah.
like, who am I missing?
Yeah.
Especially now, I mean, especially now that the landscape of Facebook is kind of changing, the algorithms are getting a bit more aggressive. They're not allowing certain content in certain countries, and even in some of the groups I'm in, if I'm in the group scrolling through, I'm not getting the same experience as someone else is.
Mhm.
Because what I was in a group where they were running a cover design sale, and I didn't see any of the posts, and I'm in the group scrolling through. So you've got to really build your own platform, and you've got to build your own platform outside of social media, maybe even outside, like you said, outside of the internet, really,
Mhm.
because you don't know who you're missing.
Yeah.
You got to know
I
your
have
audience.
I have friends that ask me, "Why do you have a website? Websites are so out of date." And I was like, "Because it's easy for me to just go, want to check out my books, go to bobbynash.com, as opposed to, want to check out my books, go to amazon.com/ blah blah, everything's in one place." And so I think having that hub, and I have actually I have my regular website that's all me. I have a website for Ben Books, which is just the stuff I self-publish. And I have two series that, because they're a series, I felt they needed their own spot. So the Snow Books have their own website, and the Landstar Sky Ranger, the pulpy pilot I mentioned earlier, has his own website where I can update whenever there's news. Now they don't get updated as often, um, but it is a place, if you're a fan of that character, there's a place to go and see just that character. And in terms of me telling people where to go to look at them, those are helpful, as opposed to, Snow, which has, there's about 9 or 10 different Snow books or stories out there now. So me trying to tell you each one of them is harder than me just going, just go here.
Yes, and
And
make it easy as possible.
right. Yeah.
Right.
It's
Don't make
here.
them go digging.
Yeah. It's here. The book titles are right there. Click on the one you're interested in,
Hmm.
take you right to this where you can buy it.
Your website is very easy to use because I look through it quite a bit, before our interview. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I like to make it simple. Yeah, keep it simple. Keep it up. Yeah, I try to update it regularly. I don't, I'm not much of a blogger, so I don't do a lot of that. Every once in a while, I'll write, get the urge to write something like that. But I like to share like news, and um, another thing I do that people have told me for years don't do. Whenever someone leaves a review of one of my books, I share it. You know,
Right.
and that's promotion without, I didn't tell you to buy anything. Just read this review. And I don't just do the good ones. I've had a couple of bad ones that I've shared those as well.
I've done
You
that
know,
too.
you know,
I've actually gotten sales from it.
exactly. It's like, hey, because you know what, whether they liked it or not, and if they didn't like it, that's cool. I mean, tastes or tastes.
Correct.
But you know what? That person took time to sit down and write something down and to put their thoughts down. So whether they liked the book or not, the book touched them enough that they felt the need to write something down. You know what? I appreciate that immensely, because it's time out of your day,
It's true.
you know?
I
So anytime I get a review, I share it. I don't argue with them. I thank them for their time, and that's, pretty much it. But it's like,
Yeah.
here's a review. And so there's all different things like that you can do, that's promoting your book without selling your book. And I find that I sell my book more when I'm not trying to sell my book, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely makes sense because everyone's selling something
Right. And
today.
and and it's I think as humans, it's our instinct. When someone tries to sell you, your first instinct is no.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be sold to. And so I try not to do that. That's, because I've been to cons where I've had table neighbors that are hard selling, and they sell more than me, but will they have repeat customers? Because some
Right.
people are buying the book just to get away from them, or whatever. I don't want people to buy books just to get away from me. I want them to buy books because this looks like something I would enjoy.
Right. You don't want people to waste their money.
Exactly. Yeah. And hopefully, if they like what they read, they'll get something else. It's hard. I mean, as a self-published or indie author, you know how hard it is I still feel like I'm hand selling every book that sells, whether I sold it or it's sold on Amazon or wherever.
Yeah.
I still feel like you know, that's a result. I went out and did this post about whatever today, and a copy of that sold. Oh, it must be because I did this post.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. So it's tough, but it's like, I'd love to just sit back and let the books sell themselves, but
Right.
it's not the world we live in. Yeah.
No, and it's, I like that more and more people are coming out and saying, those who have been traditionally published, saying if you're trying to get traditionally published, one, because it's probably a little bit of boost to the ego because
Mhm.
you've made it through the gatekeepers, which is great. I mean, I would love it too. But if you're solely doing it to avoid the marketing aspect of publishing, then that's not the reason to do it.
Right. Because even with traditional publishers, you're expected now.
Yeah.
You know, because it's unless you just want the sales from the week the book came out and then you're done. Because especially now too, because books don't disappear like they used to. It used to be books came out, they were in the bookstores for X number of time. Then the bookstore, whatever they didn't sell, they sent them back and kept maybe one or two on the shelves, and that was it. And then that book disappeared. If then it became one of those things you had to go to the used bookstore to find a copy. And with newer stuff, that's not the case anymore because there's going to be an ebook forever.
Right.
Or we sold our initial run, and once those are gone, we'll put it on print on demand. So 10 years from now, somebody goes, I wish I had that book. Well, you can order a brand new copy. And so Evil Ways came out in 2005, which was my first published novel. Here we are in 2021. I still promote that book. And it doesn't sell like it did when it was new, but I still move a copy here and there. But I still have to promote it because if I don't, who will? And
Right.
so,
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And that's why I call my site the struggling indie.
mhm,
I'm not doing it to discourage people, but I'm doing it to be authentic and truthful in that every day is going to be a bit of a struggle.
mhm,
It's going to be a bit of a hustle to get something done, whether it's words on the page, an ad to work, you've got to keep hustling, and it's not just a sit back, relax, get rich quick type of thing if that's what you're thinking. Because
right.
I don't know if you're a member of any of the indie groups on Facebook, but you'll see all these posts where I've made, $1 million and $200,000 a month and this and that. And I love, that's great. But people see that and get this pie in the sky idea of what this is all about, and
Mhm,
then quit their jobs prematurely because they're going to do it. And, you know, and it's just not the way to go.
yeah. I remember when Evil Ways was announced, I was working at this company. I'd been there for quite a number of years at this point, and I made postcards. The books coming, with information about the book and all this stuff. And I gave cards to everybody. So this company I worked at had my postcards everywhere. Because everybody had one, and they would just tack them up above their desks. And
Mhm.
so they knew the date, that they knew it was coming in August of 2005. And I remember at the beginning of August, I was at my desk working, and the president of the company comes in the office. And it wasn't unusual for, him to come. He wasn't one of those that just stayed in his office all the time. But he comes down and he comes down and goes, "Hey, how you doing?" We're talking for a minute. He kind of sits on the corner of my desk and he goes, "I need a favor." I'm like, "Sure, what do you need?" He goes, "I need 2 weeks notice before you leave." And I'm like, "Where am I going?" And he goes, "Well, I know your book comes out this month. I figure you're leaving." And I'm like, "Okay, let me explain how this works." And it was just kind of, but I also, you meet so many people that only know writers. What they know about writers is either the famous ones like Stephen King or J.K. Rowling who have money,
Mhm.
or the fictional ones on TV who are always rich.
Right. What was that show? Ah,
Well, like
Yeah.
Castle was rich.
Castle, yes, Castle, exactly.
Jessica Fletcher, she wasn't rich, but she was pretty well off.
Right.
And, plus the premise of that one always got me. Her first book sold and somebody did it for her without her knowledge. And that doesn't happen. you know, it's like, they're not going to just give the check to somebody and say, yeah, make sure she gets that. No, that's not how that works. And I watched it. There was this one sitcom one time. Melissa McCarthy was Mike and Molly.
Mm-hmm.
She was a teacher on that sitcom. And at one point, she decides to quit her job and become a writer. So the end of the season, she went off to a writers' conference. When the new season started, it was her coming back from the writers' conference. She came up with an idea and wrote a chapter at the writers' conference, sold it, and they sent her home with a $10,000 check to finish the book. And I'm like, well, that's not how that works.
That person that wrote that is a writer, so
I know. I'm thinking it was their dream thing, but it's like, that's not how that works.
No, that's not how any of this works. So,
but I think that's part of it. I think most people assume that if you're writing, you're wealthy. Now, there was a time where when it was the only way to get published was with publishers. You always got advances and things. You weren't rich, but that was a thing. Advances are not always that huge now, especially the smaller publishers. On the few times I've gotten an advance, they've all been small. Most of the time, it's all straight royalty, or we'll give you $500 for this story, or we'll give you $100 for a short story, or a lot of times it's that. We're
so you're not even getting royalties sometimes.
Right.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
and though for a short story though, that's kind of good because if it's in an anthology, your odds of ever making that $200 back is, iffy at best. So it's one of those things. It's like you choose which is better, get a couple dollars every 6 months, or go ahead and just give me the $100 now and I can pay a bill.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, so there's different things like that, and then there's royalties that come in, and certainly on the stuff that I do myself, there's no advance because I'm lucky to be able to give money to the people that help me do the covers, or or so there's it's weird. It's and if you're selling through Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all those, the money doesn't come in. It comes in and it trickles in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got a royalty. Like with Amazon, you get royalties for your paper books, for your ebooks. I put my books on Kindle Unlimited, so you get one from that. And I got one the other day. I think one of them was $14. One of them was $2.02, and one of the royalties was for 2 cents. So I'm assuming that was the Kindle Unlimited for 2 cents. But so it's not like hundreds of dollars are flowing in every month. It's especially when you don't have anything new out and it's only stuff that's on your backlist. Because I don't have stuff out every month that's brand new, and so it's just a matter of it trickles in, and you learn to do other things to kind of promote the books and sell the books. I have a store, like I said, there I can sell them. You want an autographed book, you can buy it directly from me.
Right. And that's the beauty part of, being on Kindle Unlimited. Your ebook is exclusive to that, but you can sell your print book wherever you want to, however you want to.
Yeah.
So.
I do I did a box set of, you can get these, I believe it was seven books, and I wrote a fan film where I have DVDs of. We can't sell them, but I throw a free DVD in that I wrote, and I do a sketch, and throw that in. So for $50 plus shipping, I think it's $5 for shipping. So for $55, you get this $75 worth of books.
That's
for
great.
$50. And so I'm planning a new one pretty soon. There's more Domino Lady stuff out, so I've got enough of those books now to do a nice box set. And so that helps a little. You can sell stuff like that, or doing the conventions and book signings and stuff like that. Book signings are hit or miss. Stores tend to want their cut, and by the time you've bought the books, had the book shipped to you, then pay the bookstore their cut, you really break even,
Right. It's just
like I didn't make any profit, but I moved 4 books or 5 books, and in the 3 hours I was here at this indie bookstore, so maybe those people will buy something else, down the road, or they'll, and
you're
then I'll make, so it's
there.
right. So a lot of times the book signings are not about making money as much as they are about promotion.
Right.
You're trying to get out there and show people that you're there. You want people to, you know, I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not a household name, so people don't stumble across me on Amazon. It's rare to stumble across me. That's where the anthology stuff helps. If you're in an anthology and someone famous is in it, especially, or it's a popular, like I worked on a Green Hornet, which came with its fans, because who were fans of the show.
Right.
So people picked up the book because they were fans of the show. If they liked my story, then in my bio is the website. Hopefully they'll follow over and find stuff.
Oh,
So
that's great.
yeah, so you do stuff like that, or whatever you can to just get people to know who you are and know what your books are. Again, that's why I do the backdrop like this, and
No,
so
thank
yeah.
so if you're so I love that you've come up with a plethora of ideas for us, because I think a lot of us are stuck in this, almost like indie publishing machine, where you have to rapid release to find customers,
Hmm.
where you have to, buy expensive ads, AMS ads, Facebook ads, which, might not end up working for everybody. And if your audience is a very niche audience, it might be harder to reach them via those traditional avenues. So you've provided with us with, a ton of other things that you can do to build up your readership, without having to just work within those confines,
Hmm.
which I love. So do you write full time? Is that your profession now? Is
Yeah.
that on full time indie and traditional?
Right. Yeah. I'm doing it. It it was one of those weird things. It was not something I said, okay, I'm going to leave and do this full. I actually got laid off from a job, and I was like, okay, you know what? If I was ever going to do this, that's my, this is a sign.
Mhm.
So I'm not, I'm not at a point where I could live off just this. Um, Plus I do other things. I take care of my father. I'm his caretaker, so I do that. And I was doing helping with my mother as well when she was alive, and um, but I also do a few other things on the side. I again haven't done much of it in the last year, but I act, so I do the occasional TV and movie. Sometimes it's just background, sometimes with small roles, um, and so that's fun. I've been in the background of a lot of cool shows and movies. That's been fun.
That's fun. I did it once, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's a lot of fun.
I did 2 things I filmed last year. One of them's come out, one of them hasn't. Actually, the week of the right before the quarantine. Um, I'm in Atlanta. They film a lot of stuff here. They film Creep Show here for Shudder, and so technically the season start was going to start filming the next week, but
Mhm.
they had some outdoor stuff to do, and that was harder to do everything else and do that. So they started a week early just to film this outdoor stuff, and it was what was the Christmas episode that came out, the holiday special with
Mhm.
all the Santas. I'm one of the Santas. I had a full beard at the time because I had grown the beard for something else. I was on Doom Patrol, and I had a big full beard for Doom Patrol,
That's
and
so
it just
funny.
actually, and it was the day I planned to shave it when I got the call saying we need you to come play Santa Claus, and I'm like, okay, put the razor down, and I mean I was literally in the I don't even know why I had the phone in the bathroom, but I was literally in the bathroom with the clippers. Oh, phone's ringing.
Wow. That is
And yeah, and so I went to play Santa Claus as one of like 20. There were 20 of us, and it was fun. So we did all this stuff, and we were supposed to come. That was on a Thursday. We were supposed to come back on Monday to film the inside stuff. The quarantine started that
right.
weekend. So they ended up filming the inside stuff with fewer people. So I didn't get to go back and play the inside stuff. But that was still, it's still fun. Oh God, we, I don't, you know, you see I mean, they did a beautiful job of making it look like winter and freezing cold. It was like 85 degrees
It's fantasy.
in Atlanta, humid as all get out. In it was in March because it was like, actually, it was like 4 or 5 days from now it'll be a year, and it was hot, and we were in these. I mean, they were real Santa suits. They were hot, and we were running, and we were carrying weapons. I know I'm running in my Santa suit with a sword. It was awesome, but my God, it was hot. So it was very uncomfortable, but but it's a beautiful, like I said, they did a beautiful movie magic on what they did with,
It's
making it look like snow and ice, and yeah, it's wonderful. So
yeah.
that stuff's fun. I do a lot of that stuff. That's fun,
That's
and
great. So you're
yeah,
living the dream, basically.
yeah, I'm trying. I actually have a plan to. I've written a couple of a few like short fan films just to practice writing. There's some people local and one that's not so local that do Star Trek films. Like they rebuilt all the Enterprise sets. Oh, gorgeous.
You're
Oh,
speaking my language right now. I
yes.
am a huge Star Trek fan. I
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
if I tell you, if you go to my site bobbynash.com under the film,
Hmm.
you'll find there's 3 of them have been released that I wrote.
Wow.
And they're all on YouTube. They're free on YouTube. You can find them.
Right.
But I did the Starship Farragut was the first one I did. I met those guys at a con, and they had built some sets in South Georgia. They basically rebuilt the Enterprise in South Georgia, and I got to go tour the sets and all this. It was really awesome. But I sat across from them at a convention, so for 3 days, all I heard was the 3 episodes they had done on continuous loop.
Right.
And so, and I talked to him off and on too, because again, we were just across the hall from each other. And so, but on Sunday, as we're getting ready to leave, I was like, I think I have an idea for a story. And he's like, write it up, send it to us. We'll look at it. I'm like, okay. So I did, and they filmed it. And it was really fun. And we got to go down. They had the premiere, they had the world premiere at the sets because they had a conference area with a big blank wall. They were able to they put it up on the wall so people had like 200 some people showed up for the premiere.
That is so cool. Now
It was
they did not get shut down, right? I feel like there was
well,
another. Was it them?
they were not the ones that caused the all that. They were
Yeah.
not them, but as a result, they did shut down because they were doing 45-minute episodes,
Hmm.
and they were doing a series, so they were doing multiple episodes, the same characters.
Right.
And that was one of the things that Paramount said, nope, can't do that anymore. Or CBS, whichever one, said you can't do that anymore.
Right.
So
Right.
they shut down. Actually, their last one never did come out. I think they're still working on it, but but there were a couple. But I wrote one for them, so that was fun. And I basically did it to see if I could do it. Like I can't just sit down and work on something for no reason.
Right.
My brain's not wired. Yeah, my brain's going like, you got deadlines. Why are you doing this?
No, I think that way too. I'm the same
But
way.
but doing this for them, there was a reason to do it, even though it wasn't because you can't make money doing a fan film.
No.
Even though it was a thing just to see if I could do it. I had a reason to do it, and so that was great. So that turned out great. It was wonderful. I got to go see it. It filmed, and the ship flies by. My name's up there on the big screen. I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know,
That would be a life
yeah.
goal for
So it
me.
was awesome. So I did that one, and then Star Trek Continues used the same sets, and they were doing like Starship Farragut was new characters just in the Star Trek universe. Star Trek Continues was like people playing Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and I ghost wrote the first one. Like they had a script, and I did a lot of rewrites on it. So that was fun. So I got to see that. So I got to put dialogue in Kirk, Spock, and McCoy's mouths. That was awesome. And so I really enjoyed that one. And then I met Randy Landers, he was in Alabama, and I was down there for a convention, and so he invited me to tour their sets, and so I toured their sets. And while we were sitting, I knew he was going to ask, and I went in going, I'm not going to do one. I don't have time. And while we were talking, I said, damn it, I've got an idea for a show. So I wrote one for him that came out last year, and I've recently written another one for them that they're going to film sometime this year. So
Oh, I'm going to check that out. That's
yeah,
awesome.
so they're fun. But yeah, you can find, like I said, you can find them on YouTube, but you can find them on my website as well. But I do want to write a movie. I have an idea in my head that I think would be a great movie, or at least a good movie. Um, something small, something we could shoot here, and it's just a matter of working it into my schedule. The last couple of years have been rough, on the personal side of things, and so I'm a little behind schedule. Thankfully, my publishers are understanding and kind people who have not had me kneecapped yet for being late. But yeah, I fell behind on a few projects, so I'm in this year. Having no cons and no events has helped because I'm almost caught up. Because all those extra weekends at home, have proven to be wonderful. And so yeah, so there's a lot of that, but stuff like it's fun. Doing this full time has allowed me to play a little. It's allowed me to take on projects otherwise I might not have done. But you have to, as it's a juggling act. We're doing this, that, and then you have to stop. And one of the things with working for publishers, I'm over here writing this, edits come in. I got to stop what I'm doing, jump on edits, because you have just a limited amount of time. Get the edits done, get those off, jump back onto this project. Then they goes to production. You're working on this. Then galley proofs come in. You've got to turn those around within a day. Right. Stop, do this. Oh, new book come out. Stop writing. Promote the book.
Yeah, it's
go on the book. Go on the online book tour.
Right.
So there's a lot of that juggling that goes on. I'm working on this book. The artist has got questions about the cover for this other book, so we stop and we work that. All that kind of stuff. I've been Books is a one-man band. It's just me. But I say that I also know that I am very fortunate that I have people helping me. I have people that do, like I have cover artists and that are fantastic, or people that can help me with ads, or I work with wonderful narrators on the audio. There's a lot of other hands involved. I am the company, but there's no way I could do all this stuff myself. And I have been very fortunate to work with a number of talented people who like working with me.
Right. That in and of itself is a whole other endeavor to gather those people and that's trial and error. And it's work.
Mm-hmm.
It's work.
Right. Well, I tell people all the time, because there's a lot of people that, there is the misconception that, oh, you just write all day, that must be fun. I'm like, in a perfect world, that's all I would do all day is write. But writing, it's weird. If you break down my day, the actual time spent writing is the smallest part of my day, because I am, and this is not as a complaint, but my day is filled with interview requests, convention requests. Now it's also virtual panels. Conventions are now doing stuff like, yes, our convention is in October, but we're going to do a panel a week. Would you like to be on some? Well, sure. That's good promotion. So there's stuff like that. And, I've got to work on promotion today, or we're doing a cover reveal today. Well, that could be, if I post it just to just social media, I could kill 4 hours doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and so you have to juggle your day of, I'm going to do this and this, and this has got to be done. And, oh yeah, real life, my dad's got a doctor's appointment. Well, we've got to stop everything to go do that. And, it's a juggling act, and it's not always easy. And there have been days where I've been so focused on the business side of things that I'll get to like midnight and go, I haven't written a thing today.
Guilty. Same here. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I wish I had known. I really do wish I had known. I had learned this earlier, especially like when I was in college, especially that, I thought of writing, it's a creative thing. It's an art thing. Writing is creating and entertaining. I was much older when I realized writing is a business.
Yes.
I run a small business,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how to run a small business. So I've had to learn a lot of things.
Right.
Like, had I known this stuff earlier, I would have taken business classes, or because it's just one of those things. Because all I saw was because before I was writing as a job, when I wrote as a hobby, I wrote what I want when I want, no problem. And so I'd write all the time because that's what I wanted to do. And, you know, but then it becomes your job, and it's like, hey, I've got this has got to be done today. Oh, great. Here's this shiny new idea that I can't think about. And it's the thing that wants to permeate your brain, and you have to beat that into a box somewhere because I don't have time for you.
No.
And right, when you're writing as a hobby, new idea, great, we'll do that,
Right, right,
And as a business, I can't do that because I've already promised people a snow book,
right.
you know,
And you
snow,
say
right. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of having to be an adult about things, like, you know, I've got to do this. I don't want to do this, but I've got to do this. You know, or, you know, my schedule is always pretty busy between my stuff and stuff for publishers. And so sometimes I'll agree to do things knowing I can't start on them for 6 months. And I'm really excited when I agree to it. 6 months later, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to do this. Because I've just forgotten about it. And so, not that I don't enjoy it and all that. I mean, I generally don't take on assignments if I just absolutely don't want to do it.
right.
I am in a position I can say no occasionally. I don't know. I don't do it as much as I probably should, um, but yeah, it's the juggling. That's my day.
The juggling and the struggling.
Yes, I'm gonna put that on that needs to be on a business card or a T-shirt.
I'm going to be making struggling indie t-shirts. So
Nice.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
the next move.
but it's for all this that we're talking about, the struggle and all this too. I will say I want to make sure people understand this too. I love every minute of it.
Yes.
As frustrating as it can be, as irritating as it can be, as exhausting as it can be, I this beats the hell out of going to a corporate office and doing that any day of the week. And
100%.
I've done that.
Mhm.
This is I go to work in my sweatpants and t-shirt. It's but when I realized that it was a job, because I admit that the first few years I did not take it as seriously as like it was a job. It was just, oh, I get to write comic books, yay,
Yeah.
and I would do, and I had a fun time doing it and all this. But when I realized this is a job and you have to treat it like a job, I became a better storyteller, I think, a better writer, because deadlines were suddenly more important. Planning was more important. You can't just write whatever you want. You've got to put a little thought into it. You've got to, and I think I became a better creator at that point. I certainly started getting more work at that point. Because learning to meet deadlines was, and we all miss deadlines. I mean, they happen,
Right.
but, it's, I've learned a lot about doing it once I realized this is a job and I need to treat it like a job. That means, you know, your friends calling, can you go to lunch? Not today. Or, back in the days when people went to movies,
Right.
sometimes you're like, if I want to go to the movie Friday night, I need to double up
To
and get
get
Friday's work done on Wednesday and Thursday. You can't just go, I'm taking the night off. No, I got to move that work
so
in, get ahead to take the night off. So those are a lot of things that once I learned that, it made my life simpler. It didn't make my life simpler, but it made the business work a little better.
it put all the pieces together. And I
Yeah.
think that epiphany happens to a lot of us. It happened for me um recently, even like with, at the end of last year, beginning of this year, I said, if this is what I'm going to be spending my time doing, I need to start treating it as such, and get a little bit more serious about it. And ever since that, I feel like things are flowing a little bit better and
Mm-hmm.
are less stressful. So that's great. But thank you so much. I think
Oh,
that's a
my
great place to kind of end, because I think that's a really good lesson. Writing is a business,
mm-hmm.
and the minute you make the decision to treat it as such, things start to fall into place.
Absolutely.
I
I agree with that.
I love that. I love that. But I really wanted to thank you. This has been so much fun. Thank you for being my first interview
Oh,
for
my
the
pleasure.
podcast.
My pleasure.
And
Yes, on the upside, I'm always a good first guest because I can fill the hour.
yes, I was praying. I was praying. I was like, please let him be a talker because and you were, it was perfect. So I really appreciate it.
I used,
Yeah,
I
I'd
used,
love to talk again.
yeah, absolutely.
Great. This was great.
Yeah, I used to co-host a podcast, and we would sometimes you get the interview, and the interviewer, you ask them a question, it's one word answers, and you're like, no.
I get a couple of those when I do my indie author spotlights. They write back one word. I'm like, oh, okay. This is your spotlight, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've learned how to fill the hour. I can, and I've done a lot of these over the years too. So I kind of I know the answers to a lot of this stuff. No, but I would love to come back. This was a lot of fun, and I wish you nothing but success with the podcast. And
thank you so much. And let me know when your next book comes out. I'll give it a little shout out on my social media, and I will hopefully talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
That sound means it's the end of the show. That was such a fun episode to record. I had such a great time. I can't wait to have Bobby Nash on again. If you'd like to check him out, head over to bobbynash.com. All of his information will also be in the show notes. If you have a suggestion for a show topic, have any questions, or want to be a guest, email hello@thestrugglingindie.com. I'm also everywhere on social media, or please visit www.thestrugglingindie.com and click on my contact form. On the next episode, I'm going to be talking with Corey and Wallace of formattedbooks.com. There's lots of great info in that episode. You won't want to miss it. Until next time, I'm Nikki Morris, and I'm a struggling indie.